Welcome everyone who is watching to the Sharpe Show. It is Friday evening, and I know I should be here at 7 p.m. Eastern, but today was a special day because I had to get a super special guest. So it's actually a little bit later. It's 9 p.m. on the East Coast, but it is Sharpe Stew, not Sharpe Soup, because it's media. I'm very lucky. I have with me this evening an actor, an activist, an entertainer, a journalist, a comedian, and a self-proclaimed very hairy man. The man himself, straight out of Damascus, Syria, Treka Z. How are you, sir?
I'm good. About being hairy, that's a fact. Let's just establish that from the beginning.
Yes, absolutely it is.
But look, just because I am hairy doesn't mean I am scary.
I would agree. Teddy bears are both hairy and very cute. So I'm very happy about that. So I have to ask you a question.
Thank you.
You are there in Syria, Damascus, and you're a comedian and an activist and a journalist. Why?
Yeah.
It seems like a very tough job to have in Syria today.
It's true. You know, being a comedian in general is a tough job. But I really like it. I'm good at it, and I enjoy the whole process, and I like to make people laugh and forget their problems.
You know, you said that, and I bring this up often. One of the reasons why I have comedians on the show is because I think that comedy is a way that people deal with pain sometimes, or tragedy, or fear, or all types of things. I'm a veteran. I was in the Marine Corps for many years. And I mean, veterans, we joke about terrible, horrible things to kind of make the pain go away almost. Is that a part of what you're doing, or am I reading too deep?
Yes, it's completely true. You know, comedy is a way to escape tragedy. You know, like people deal with their problems in different ways. Some people, you know, get down on their knees and cry, and others, you know, make fun of it and look at their problems straight in the face and make a joke about it and be humorous about it. And I think that is a way more positive attitude towards dealing with, you know, struggle and tragedies and pain.
Absolutely. Connie says she's stoked for this interview. You have a fan already. Look at that. I love it. You already have a fan.
Yep.
That's good.
Funny.
So Jeff says, I was freaking out about 7:15 when I didn't get the notification. Then I found a post that said it'll be at 9. Okay, so you're okay now, Jeff. Jeff is calm now that he can get his daily dose of me. Thank you, Jeff. It's great.
Thank God.
So for those of you who want more on Treka, please head over to Treka Z and all the internet stuff. He's on Twitter. He's on Facebook. He's on all those things. But I want to bring up something. You picked up something which I think is really weird, in that you, being in Syria, you picked up on the Coca-Cola "Be Less White" whole thing. And that blew my mind that you thought of that. I'm going to show a clip. I want you guys to see. He put this on his YouTube page, and I think this will be funny that someone from another country figured out how strange we are.
How to be less white. Number one, be less oppressive. You know, like, cut it out with all the oppression. Number two, be less arrogant. Oh my God, what kind of whiteness is this? Number three, be less certain. So, like, if you are sure about something, just don't be. Be confused about it, because that's just white supremacy and unacceptable. Number four, be less defensive. Oh, wow, that's a great point. So, like, if somebody's attacking you or questioning your morals or your beliefs, don't be defensive about it, because that is something only a racist will do.
I love that you were saying all these things because so many people were thinking it. And in America, some of us couldn't believe this was happening. We just couldn't believe it. And you're sitting here going, just do it. Just be confused. It's far better, right? So what did you think when you were doing this?
Yeah. Well, I thought it was ridiculous because, like, you know, they're painting white people like generally, like they're all racist, they're all oppressive, they're all, you know, like it's very, very, you know, wrong, you know, to do that. So I was just looking at first when I heard the news, I thought it was a lie. Like I was like, okay, maybe this is like a joke or something.
Right.
But when I read the articles, and it was like, oh no, this is legit. Like the employees had to like go through the diversity training, and so it was just so ridiculous that I had to make a video about it.
It's funny. Andrew's your fan. He says, "God bless you." So you have a fan already. So yes. Catherine says,
Thank you,
is
Andrew.
an amazing person and a world-class comedian. Oh my God, look at the fans you have here. I love this.
Damn.
I love it. So let me go a little further in this one.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so what's number 5? Number 5, be less ignorant. Oh, wow. Now they're just insulting you. What's next? Like white people raping chihuahuas? Goddamn. Number 6, be humble. I mean, come on. Stop showing off. We don't care. Number 7, listen. Are you deaf? Listen. Number 8, believe. Everything.
All of it.
Conceive, believe, achieve. Number 9, break with apathy.
Yeah, anything.
Finally, break.
Go ahead. You want to say something? Go ahead, please.
No, nothing. Yeah.
Okay, I thought you said.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. So, but I hope like white people were taking notes when they were like watching this video, because like this is very, very important.
Nice. So this part I thought was funny. I enjoyed the entire piece, but my audience is asking about something else.
Mm-hmm.
My audience is asking about you in Syria.
Yeah.
They're asking about you in Syria because they know that Joe Biden just decided that the right answer is to start bombing people, which we knew he was going to do that. And sorry, hold on. So Jimmy says, Treka, how do those in Syria view the US? And do they know that there are a lot of people who don't agree with our leaders? So in Syria, do people think, oh, all Americans want to bomb? Or what do they think?
No, we know that there are many, many Americans, millions and millions of Americans that are against war, against foreign intervention, and they are sick of all the same, you know, war, whether it's in the Iraq or in Syria or in Libya or in Afghanistan. So like the Syrian people, we know that this has nothing to do with the American public. For an example, last night, Joe Biden struck Syria, but he didn't get the approval or permission of the American people. So like we know that they are warmongers, and like when Biden became president, we weren't very optimistic, you know, because you know, this whole thing started under the Obama administration back in 2011. So Joe Biden was the vice president of Obama when Obama, you know, was funding ISIS and sending money and weapons to them and so on. So like we knew this already. And America was already bombing us. So when Biden became president, we knew that it's going to be the same shit all over again.
Wow. I'm happy that you don't blame us, but I'm sad that it's true, because I think we thought the same thing. Many libertarians and much of my audience is libertarian, and they hate the fact that we're bombing yet again. They can't stand it. But again, you did a joke. You did a video with your cat about this. And I'm going to show the cat video for those of you who haven't seen this. This is him talking to his cat.
Anyway, Bella, so now Joe Biden is president and he's just fucking everything up. There is no signs of him removing the economic sanctions. He's sending more troops to Syria. It's like, I don't understand.
The cat's pissed off. Like the cat is angry.
Yeah.
It's crazy. The cat's angry.
As you can see, the cat. Yeah, as you can see, the cat is obviously a white supremacist because he's white. So that I'm sure that was obvious to you.
If that cat would be less oppressive and if that cat would be less defensive, then maybe the cat could be less white. I mean, if he could do that, but I don't know. Maybe the cat can.
That cat needs to take that Coca-Cola diversity training. He really needs to take it.
That's the problem. It is absolutely. That's the problem. Let me finish up because your cat is not finished. So let me keep going.
I don't know why. Don't forget, Joe Biden was Obama's vice president when Obama destroyed Syria and was funding ISIS. So don't expect him to do something different.
It's true.
Don't worry. Things will improve. Things will improve here.
Your cat doesn't believe you.
Ah, I know. Okay. But
that cat needs to be less defensive. That's for sure. Less defensive.
Exactly.
Yes. So Vicky says, love cats. That's it. Oh, Vichy. Sorry, Vichy. Sorry, not Vicky, Vichy. So yes. And Ellie says, absolutely hate that we're bombing Syria or anywhere. There we go. Missy is happy. She's laughing. She thinks it's funny. And Rebecca, she agrees with the cat.
I mean, what can I tell you?
That's great. But
my cat is actually very famous.
Tell me.
Yeah, my cat is very famous, just like Kim Kardashian's anus. I have a video of him on TikTok. That video has reached something like 900,000 views. Like anybody that sees a video of me with my cat, they immediately fall in love with him.
I love it.
He's amazing.
He does have a little coat on, a little shirt on, so that's kind of cute.
Yeah. In the last election, he was supporting Kanye West, but like that's another story.
That's different. That's okay. Yeah, but it's fine. Tom says your cat is smarter than our president. I like that. So Jimmy says, this guy's hilarious. How can we follow him? And how you follow him is by following at Treka Z on all the things. You can follow him on Twitter. You can follow him on YouTube, Facebook, any of those things. That's how
Instagram and Facebook.
And if you want to see a cat,
Z, everything's under the name Treka Z.
If you want to see a cat that's as famous as Kim Kardashian's anus, you can follow him on TikTok. See, even better. I love that.
Yep.
Yes. So, Jeff says Biden is bombing Syria because of that white supremacist cat.
Exactly my point. Yes, Jeff, you are woke.
Yes, absolutely.
Expose them.
So
we need to expose the truth.
David loves the racist cat. So I think that's working.
He is a racist. He is a racist. It's true.
So let me go a bit further if I can. Right? How is Damascus now? I mean, from what we see in America, what we see is that it's been bombed and it's terrible and everything is bad. I mean, is daily life in Damascus, is it kind of back to normal or no?
Now, thankfully, the city of Damascus and Damascus countryside has been completely liberated from all the hairy baboon jihadists that were there. So this is good news. We don't longer have the hairy baboons in Damascus city. So Damascus right now is safe. The last city still under the control of ISIS and Al-Qaeda is called Idlib. So if you look for Idlib on a map, it's a small city, like smaller than a penguin's anus. So that is the last major city that is still, so that is the last major city still under the control of the terrorist groups. Damascus, thankfully, is safe.
Good. So are you worried that this is temporary because of Biden being in control? Do you think that another major, amount of violence is in the future? Do you think, no, it's not going to be that bad? What do you feel?
Well, I hope not, but it's so strange. Like Joe Biden has only been president for 1 month and he's immediately, striking another country. Like by bombing Syria, how is this reaching to a solution? This is only going to escalate the problem and create more tension in the region. And look, you know, the United States is illegally here in Syria. So like the United States shouldn't be in Syria in the first place. And like the Syrian people don't want the American military bases to be in Syria, because right now they're stealing the oil. They're, you know, they're just, how can I say, like, we can't really trust the American government or army in Syria, because like I told you, from the beginning of the crisis, we know for a fact that the American government was funding ISIS, and they were sending them weapons, and they were helping them doing propaganda and so on. So like there is a trust issue between the Syrian people and the American government. Second of all, like I said, you know, like for example, here in Syria, we have many armies, and this is the problem. If I had it my way, I would kick out all foreign armies from my country. I only want the Syrian army to be in Syria, because that's the legitimate army. But for an example, you have something like the Russian army and the American army. But the difference between both of them is that the Russian army is here in Syria legally. So the Syrian government officially invited Russia and told them that we want you to come out and help in the fight against ISIS and Al-Qaeda. But America wasn't invited, but they are here, you know, by force and illegally. So, you know, at this point, like, Syria is like the Beatles and America is like Yoko Ono. You know, nobody likes you, nobody invited you, you know. So I think
we're gonna break the
Joe
Beatles
Biden,
up. Oh my God!
I think, you know, I think the American people should speak up to the government and tell them we don't want any more wars. It's not our problem. We've been in the Middle East for more than 20 years and we haven't solved any problem. Look at Iraq. You know, Iraq, the American military bases have been in Iraq since 2003. And look, 2021, and they are still there. Yes. And they didn't solve the problem. Look at Iraq. Look at Iraq now. It is worse. You know, the situation is very, very bad. The president died. The economy got destroyed.
Yep.
Created millions of refugees. Millions of people died. The same thing with Syria. The same thing with Libya. So it's like, stop interfering in other people's problems, in other countries, you know, and the focus on America, focus on the American people. Don't you guys have a pandemic going on and so on? Like, why are you bombing Syria today? Like,
absolutely,
it's just crazy, you know, because, you know, every year I try to be like more optimistic about it, but like it seems like every year, you know, it's the war in Syria started in 2011, and look now we are in 2021 and there's still a war. And in addition to all the war and the ISIS and the fighting and the killing, we also are facing a problem today, which is the economic sanctions.
Sure,
you know, like
absolutely.
America right now is imposing cruel economic sanctions on the Syrian people, and this has caused the economy to get destroyed. The prices became high, no jobs, everything is expensive. We stopped having electricity 24 hours. Like right now, there are areas where electricity is only available 10 to 11 hours in a day. Fuel crisis, bread crisis, and all of this is because of the economic sanctions. So like the American government is like, oh, we are here, we are there in Syria to protect the Syrian people, to defend the Syrian people, we care about them. If you really care about the Syrian people, why are you imposing economic sanctions in Syria? Do they really think, you know, when you tell them this, the government will tell you, no, we are imposing these sanctions to, you know, punish the government. Do you really think the government is getting hurt by the economic sanctions? Do you think high-ranking politicians in Syria are sitting today in their house without electricity? No, it's the Syrian people that are sitting without electricity. It's the Syrian people that are having, you know, electricity problem, bread problem, money problems, fuel crisis, and all of this shit. You know, so
I got to tell you, I have been saying this
for
a long time. I've been saying this for a long time. Just last week, I put out a press release saying that all of these sanctions should be removed. We need to just let people be people. All the troops should be brought home. I completely agree with you. Let me grab a couple of comments. People are happy. Kurt says, great guest. So I guess that's a positive thing. David asks, is the Turkish army still in Syria? And I think a lot of people are concerned about the Kurdish population that's in part of Syria and the Turkish
Yeah.
army. Do you have any insight into that?
Yes, the Turkish army is still in Syria. They're in the northern part. Yes, they are a threat to the Kurds of Syria, and they are also a threat to the Syrian people because the Turkish government is actually funding and protecting the jihadists in the city of Idlib. So they are sending them money, they're sending them weapons. So these jihadists that are in Idlib, of course, they want to kill the Kurds, but they also want to kill the Syrians too, because in Syria is a very multicultural and diverse country. Like you have many people from different religions. You have Christians in Syria, many Christians in Syria. You have the Druze community, which is a minority group community. You have Muslim Sunnis, Muslim Shias. You have the Alawis. You have people from other ethnicities like the Kurds or the Armenians. So like all of these people, ISIS is a threat to them, because if you don't follow the ideology of ISIS, the Wahhabi extremist ideology, to them you're a sinner. So they will immediately kill you, and they don't care, because when they die, they'll go to heaven to the hairy virgins there. So it's like you're dealing with a very, very difficult mentality, very extremist mentality.
I didn't know the virgins were hairy. I didn't know that they were hairy virgins, but I guess if that's your thing, then good. Okay. That's good.
They like it. I don't know, that they like it to keep them warm, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Connie is asking a very important question, though. Do you have merch to buy? Connie wants to buy merch.
No, I don't, unfortunately. Maybe in the future, but because I don't know, I never thought of it. Maybe I will.
Maybe you should. You got people asking for merch.
Yeah.
It's time.
Sure, maybe in the future, and I'll update you, Connie, when I do.
There we go. Absolutely. I love that. So Rebecca says, thanks, Larry, for this, getting a real life point of view from someone who lives there and not a talking head on the mainstream media. I appreciate that. Yes. Connie is now following you on Twitter. So if you get some merch, put it on Twitter and Connie will buy some.
For sure. For sure.
There we go.
I will.
So David says, so sorry for what Obama did to you. This is the thing that I think a lot of people assumed. And it's because I think of George W. Bush that most people in America assume that Republicans were the war hawks because of George W. Bush and 9/11. But I think Americans now are figuring out it's not just Republicans. It's Democrats too. And in fact, it's more Democrats than Republicans now.
Both of them. Look, unfortunately, my friend, I feel no matter who the American president is, whether he's a Republican or a Democrat, unfortunately, the American foreign policy never changes. I mean, look at George Bush, for an example. He was a Republican. He started the war with Iraq. Look at Obama. He was the Democrat. He started the war with Syria. So it's like, no matter who the president is, whether he's a Republican or a Democrat, unfortunately, the foreign policy never changes, because it feels like the military-industrial complex is so powerful to the point that no American president can do anything about it. So it's just continuous. It's not stopping. How many military bases does America have in the Middle East and in the world? Like, why?
Yeah.
Like, so it's very strange, but it's the truth. So it's not about Democrat or Republican. Both of them, you need someone who's an outsider, someone who is really anti-war, who really is for the people, someone who would, put the American people as a priority. Like, the Middle East has been fucked up for so many years, and America didn't do anything to help. They actually made the problem worse and worse. So, like, the best solution is for America to pull out from the Middle East, just like Donald Trump pulled out from Stormy Daniels. And, take back the troops, get the troops back home, A lot of, American army, they're going back home, losing a leg, losing a testicle.
I know.
Because of wars that have nothing to do with America or American national security. Like, how is Syria a threat to America.
No,
like, what is America really doing?
I'm agreeing with you completely. And what I want to say is the example I give all the time is an example from about 50 years ago, and that's the Vietnam War. America fought in Vietnam for over 10 years. It was a civil war within Vietnam. They were fighting in Cambodia. They were bombing all over the place. Chinese were involved. And eventually we just lost that war and walked away. We just pulled out. We just left. And 20 years later, we were their trading partner. Right now, we can buy furniture from Vietnam right now. If we just walked away from the Middle East, 20 years from now, we'd be buying stuff from Syria and Iran and Iraq, and we'd be trading partners, and we all be getting cool stuff, maybe having a little hookah with each other, something like that.
Yeah, look, to them, look, war is like a business to them. War is something profitable. Like now the American military is stealing Syria's oil. Now I know that America has oil and they don't really need our oil, but they are stealing it. But they are stealing it. The main reason is to not let the Syrian government have control of our oil and to use it for the people. So to make the people's life way more worse, in hope that maybe in the future they would get so sick of life that they would then overthrow the Syrian government.
Yes, and the funny thing is, I know many of my Marine friends who literally came back from the Middle East, and I would ask them, what was your last tour? And the amount of Marines that I heard were guarding, literally, as you said, they were guarding oil convoys. That was their job, guarding oil convoys. And I'm like, why are you guarding an oil convoy? They're like, I don't know, that was our mission. Our mission is guarding oil convoys. And they don't know where the oil's going. They don't know where it's coming. They're just guarding it.
I'm telling you, look, politics is a very dirty game. And unfortunately, the only people that will suffer from it are the normal people. You know, the people like me, the people like you. But politicians don't really give a F about the people. They don't care because, look, I've heard this a lot. Like, we are in, you know, like American politicians saying this. Like, we are in Syria because we care about the Syrian people and the Syrian people are dying. You guys don't care about the Syrian people. If you cared, you wouldn't be imposing economic sanctions and bombing the country. You guys, the American government, of course, I'm not talking about the American people. I know that the majority of the American people are against war. I've spoken to many and many. They're all so vocal, but they feel helpless. Like thousands of Americans have came out online and said, we are against military intervention. We don't want war. Even today, after like Biden bombed Syria, many Americans were against this. But unfortunately, it's like they feel they're helpless. It's like they're talking to a wall.
Yes.
But it's crazy. Like, for an example, getting back to my point, that the American government doesn't care about people in the Middle East. Because look at, for an example, Yemen. You know, Saudi Arabia has been killing the people of Yemen for how many years now? They are silent about it, and they are actually selling Saudi Arabia weapons to use to kill the people of Yemen. So when American politicians looks at me and tells me, "Oh, we are doing this because we care about," you guys don't care about the people. Politics is a dirty game. It's all about interest. It's all about profit, and it's all about, you know, being more in control of the region. You know, so, like, to me, the way I see it, what is happening in Syria right now is a World War III, and it's between Russia and America, and the battlefield is in Syria. The war isn't like a traditional war where,
so
like,
you think it's a proxy war? That's what you mean. It's a proxy war.
Exactly, it's a proxy war. You know, it's a proxy war. Russia has its people, America's funding its own people, and they're just fighting each other. And unfortunately, the people that are dying are the people that the citizens, the civilians that are in between all this bullshit.
Yes.
And because of the economic sanctions and so on, it's like they have cornered the Syrian citizen to the part where he's very helpless, because right now we don't have any embassies in Syria. Since the war started in 2011, most of the embassies closed. All European embassies, America, Canada, Australia, all of them closed. So even if a Syrian wants to travel out of Syria, he can't go to an embassy to get a visa or so on.
So you're basically, you're trapped and you're stuck in this terrible environment.
You can't do anything. And then you have people in the West that will complain about the refugees. They'll be like, oh my God, these refugees are entering our country. If you really don't want refugees to enter your country, how about you tell your government to stop destroying their own country so they won't run away from that country?
Yes, that's a good idea. Maybe we should stop bombing countries and that would be okay. Yeah. I love it. David says, though, that he heard those virgins were actually Catholic nuns. Do you know if that's true?
I don't know. He's been watching too much Fox News. I'm not sure.
Yeah, maybe that's what it is. I like it. So I don't know how to spell his name. I think it's Misericordi. He says, I hope you and your fellow countrymen stay as safe as can be. We are tired of governments going to war with each other and sending us to fight. Even the average Russian, Chinese, or American doesn't want war. And I think that's true. The average person doesn't want war.
Nobody wants war. Look, at the end of the day, we have to look at life this way. You know, we are all human beings that are in this world for a temporary time. So like, we need to spend our time, you know, in peace, enjoying life, experiencing life, exploring and learning and so on. It's very unfortunate that you have people right now, like the Syrian people, they've been living in a war for 10 years. Like imagine people in America right now when the whole lockdown started. When 3 months of lockdown took place in America, you had many Americans crying, oh my God, I can't take this anymore, lockdown and quarantine. So imagine living in a war zone for 10 years.
Wow.
Not lockdown, oh, you can't go to the, not lockdown, oh, you can't go to the cafe, you can't go to the bar. No, we're talking you're living in a war zone where bombs are falling every day and economic sanctions and the ISIS and Al-Qaeda and terrorists and 70 different armies in your country. And it's just crazy, man.
Absolutely. So you have some fans here. James says, I knew I liked this guy. I like that. Daniel says, I agree with everything he's saying. Look at you. You got fans here. Wow, I love it. Tiffany says, war makes money, steal resources, human trafficking, organ harvesting, money laundering, kickbacks. Well, you know, she makes a valid point, right? Once you make it a war, then everything becomes cloudy and foggy. So that means all the negative, bad criminal behavior can happen and people just don't seem to notice it because it's in the fog of war.
Exactly. Yeah, you're right.
And I think you probably see
you know, I would not wish war on anybody. Like this is not, like war is not a good experience for anyone to live, you know, so I wouldn't wish it on anybody in this world. And hopefully the war in Syria, I'm hoping that the war will soon end. But, you know, if Joe Biden continues acting like a hemorrhoid, I'm not sure, maybe things will get worse.
I like that. I like that. So Joe Biden's media said we sent airstrikes. They're delivering cupcakes from the sky. See, we're just giving you food attached to bombs.
Rainbow colors. Yeah. Joe Biden's rockets are like rainbow colors and, you know, flowers and so on. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's the same thing. It's still a bomb, you know. They'll be like, oh, yeah, but, you know, his vice president is a woman of color. So, like, we Syrians, we should be proud. You know, at least the vice president that sent these rockets, you know, she's a woman of color. So, like, progress, you understand?
It's progress,
it's crazy, you know. Look at this. Yeah.
So Katie's mad at me when I interrupt you. So I'm sorry. Katie's mad at me when I interrupt you. She says I don't give a fuck what the host has to say. Katie, it's my show. I get to say stuff. That's kind of how it works. So let him talk. I'm letting him talk a lot. Don't be mean, Katie. It's my show. I'm being good. Go ahead, please.
I didn't feel that you were interrupting me. I honestly didn't feel that you were interrupting me ever.
It's
so
fine.
Like
no worries at all.
This is
Keep
the
talking.
life, you know. But yeah, so that's it. Hopefully, you know, the American people will speak up and, you know, make it clear that we don't want any more bombs and stop using stupid excuses and lift those economic sanctions from the Syrian people, because it's actually hurting the Syrian people. Let me tell you something really quick. You know, before the war in Syria in 2011, the Syrian currency was 50 Syrian pounds equaled $1.
Okay.
Today, it's 3,600 Syrian pounds to make $1.
Wow.
I'm serious. So it jumped. Yeah, it jumped from 50 Syrian pounds to make $1 till today. It's now 3,600 Syrian pounds to make $1. So you can imagine how all the prices became very high, but the salaries are still the same. So every Syrian has to work 2 or 3 jobs, not to live a good life, just to make ends meet. You know, for an example, you know, you have a lot of people on social media where they are able to make money online, whether it's from their YouTube or Patreon or so on, or PayPal. But even this, a Syrian is not able to make money online because of the economic sanctions. So today, a Syrian citizen is not allowed to have a MasterCard. He's not allowed to have a PayPal. He's not allowed to have a credit card. He's not allowed to buy. You can't, because of the economic sanctions, it's not allowed. So you can't even buy anything online. You can't import. You can't export. So
I'm blown away by that. So
like they are cornering.
Can you even have merch? I mean, do we have to like send money like to another country or something to get you?
You can't.
Money? Oh my God!
You can't. You can't, because in order to have merch, like you can't. I can't export it to America, for an example. I can't receive the money because if I am in Syria and I don't have a PayPal or a MasterCard, how are they going to buy the product and send me the money? So it's, you understand? So it's like they closed all the doors on the Syrian people. They want them to suffer so much to the point where they reach to the point and they overthrow the Syrian government, because this is their plan. They want to overthrow the Syrian government because the Syrian government is not a puppet to America. They don't take orders from America. They are friends with Russia and Iran, and America is not friends with Russia and Iran. It's ridiculous. They want to control the whole world. They just
I love what you're saying.
Country. Like, for example, this year.
Okay.
Yeah. And for an example, like, we don't interfere in your own elections, or, oh my God, you guys shouldn't have Trump, or you guys shouldn't have Joe Biden as a president. It's your own country. It's you guys that will vote. And at the end of the day, it's the American people that should decide who their president is.
Sure.
For an example, 2021, we have an election. The presidential Syrian election will be this year in 2021, maybe at the end of summer. So why doesn't the American government just let the Syrian have an election and vote for the candidate that they want to be? Stop, like, mind your business, like. But they don't want that.
I want to touch a part that really I think a lot of people were surprised at what you just said. And I want to cover this because what you've just said is the sanctions aren't even just hurting, in theory, big business, but they're hurting even the little guy, the average person on the street, the person who's trying to escape, the person who's trying to do something big or special, the individual journalist like yourself, the comedian. It's hurting everybody. I didn't realize it, and shame on me for being so ignorant. I didn't realize that kind of sanction went that deep to the individual. I didn't actually know that, and you have just enlightened me. So thank you, my friend, for that tremendously. Thank you.
You're welcome. But, look, there are many, many Americans that are just like you. Like, when I tell them this stuff, they get so surprised. And it is mainly because of the lies of the mainstream media. The mainstream media is not telling you guys the truth. They're lying. They're creating propaganda. They are a bunch of liars. The mainstream media, all of them, I'm not even talking, the mainstream media that are on the left and on the right, both of them are liars. They're not telling the truth. And they like, for example, Fox News, it's very, very obvious that they work for the Republican Party. CNN, it's very obvious that they work for the Democratic Party. So they're biased. They won't tell you the truth. If you guys really want to know what is really going on in Syria, you guys need to ask a Syrian that is living in Syria, someone that is experiencing the war, someone that is seeing it, from, like, experience, someone that is living it. Because the Syrian person that is living in Syria is not going to lie. There are many, many other stuff that a lot of Americans don't know. Like, sometimes, I would, do like vlogs, and I would go to like a nightclub, where people are drinking alcohol and women are dancing and they're wearing short skirts and so on. And when I post it, they'll be like, is this happening in Syria? I'll be like, yes. They'll be like, we thought like Syrians are all wearing hijabs and they're all Muslims and they're all covered like Saudi Arabia. And I tell them, no, Syria is actually a secular country. Syria is not an Islamic country. It's a secular country. You have Christians, you have Muslims, I told you. And women are not oppressed. Women are not forced to wear hijab. You can go to the beach and find women wearing, bikini, and
Sure.
they can work everywhere in government and in private businesses. They can wear whatever they want. So like people have this idea that like Syria is like, you know, Saudi Arabia, or, you know, it's a completely different country. Like Syria is very rich in culture and history. You know, there is
No,
a town in
I'm very
Damascus
much aware
countryside. It's called
of the
Malula.
I'm sorry. I'm very
Yes.
much aware of the history of Syria. I'm going to make the other woman mad again for cutting you off, but I have to, because I have to pump you. People are asking for your links. So please, if you want to follow Treka, please follow him at Treka Z at all the things, Instagram, Facebook. He's got a YouTube page,
Facebook,
whatever it is.
YouTube.
Treka Z is the same everywhere. Please go there and follow him. If you want to hear what he has to say, reach out to him, whatever it is. Corin says, great interview. Love Treka, so that's good. Vichy says, can someone drop a link for this guy? I just did. Please check those out if you could. I appreciate that. That'd be awesome. So let me keep going here. I'm going to grab a couple more. How can the American people demand the government to stop when they don't want to hear us and cancel everyone who has an opinion? And this is a problem that we're having right now in America, is that we're having situations where the elites are kind of controlling the message. Big business and elites are controlling the message. Yeah. And a lot of us are struggling with that. That's kind of the things that we're dealing with right now. Some of us are having that kind of problem. So yes. Jeff says, I mean, there's clearly a lag. Dude is in Syria and Larry's in New York. I don't think he's trying to interrupt. I wasn't trying to interrupt, but there is a lag. I just want to make sure that I'm also getting your comments out, because I know you like this live, so I'm giving you comments. And I want to promote him so that people actually don't only listen to him, but they also follow his social media so they can reach out for details if they want some details. All of those things that people may want. So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Please continue. You were talking about Syria's history.
Yeah. Yeah, like for an example, some people don't know that there are Christians in Syria, and we have a town in Damascus countryside called Malula. My grandma's from there, and this is one of the most ancient Christian towns in the world. And the people of Malula till today, they still speak Aramaic, which is the language of Jesus Christ.
There we go.
Like we have this till today in Syria, and there are many other examples. Syria is very rich in culture, very rich in history, and it is so depressing to see, because of the war, there are some historical sites that are getting destroyed and damaged, you know, like Palmyra, for an example.
Oh, yes.
And it's just crazy because, you know, because of this sick war, they are killing and destroying history that is thousands and thousands of years old. You know, you're talking about 2,000 years old, 3,000 years old. And it's getting destroyed because of the war. It's crazy. It's heartbreaking. But everything in this world is temporary. So I don't think the war is going to stay like this forever.
Sure.
But we have to get our voices heard. We need to speak out and tell, you know, the governments, you know, lift the sanctions of Syria, stop bombing. We don't give a fuck what is happening in the Middle East. Pull out the troops. Let us worry about America. Let us worry about our problems. We have many, like America has many problems. Like, you know, I heard like was it 2000 a paycheck that Joe Biden wanted to give the American people, and now he's not giving them the 2000 paycheck. Like, but he doesn't mind to spend billions and billions of dollars on the military bases in the Middle East. So like, use
absolutely.
the money that you are wasting in the Middle East. Use it for the American people. Make free healthcare, make free education, build the cities, try to help end the homelessness crisis in California, for an example. Like, you guys still have problems. So why is the American government spending billions of dollars in the Middle East when they can use it to help their own people? It's just common sense, but it's like the American government is so out of touch with reality. It's like unbelievable.
Let me grab a couple more comments. People are asking an important question, more than one, about cryptocurrency. There are a couple of cryptocurrency questions. Is that a possibility, a way to get around the sanctions in your nation, or no?
No, unfortunately not. Also, cryptocurrency wouldn't work.
Well, there we go. There we go. So John says, thanks, Larry, for thinking outside the box. What does your guest think of Iran's role in the region? Do you have an opinion of Iran in the region?
You mean like in Syria?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like for an example, Iran is one of the countries that was officially invited by the Syrian government to help out in the fight against ISIS and Al-Qaeda. So legally speaking, you know, Iran is legitimately here in Syria. It's not like, for an example, Turkey or America, for an example, who are here in Syria illegally. You know, like for an example, when Iran wants to strike an area under the control of ISIS, or if Russia wants to attack an area under the control of ISIS, they would actually communicate with the Syrian government. They would tell them, okay, look, today at 9 p.m. we're going to strike this area in this location, so on. Like they exchange information. But when America or Turkey is doing anything in Syria, they don't communicate with the Syrian government. They don't take permission, and you know, they do whatever the fuck they want illegally. So Iran is not like a country that I'm a huge fan of, you know.
Yeah, but let me go to the next step, which I think they're talking about, is things like Iran supporting rebels in Iraq or supporting Hamas or something like that. I think many Americans are afraid that Iran is starting trouble in the Middle East and backing, you know, attacking Americans in Iraq and things like that. Do you have any view on that?
Well, if we want to look at the facts, like Iran hasn't started any war in the last, I don't know, like 40 years. Like who has Iran attacked? You know, but if you look at, for an example, America has attacked more than 20 countries in the last 30 years. So there's difference. Now, look, I personally, I'm not a huge fan of Iran. Like if I had it my own way, if I personally had it my own way, I would kick out every single foreign army that is in Syria. I would kick out every single foreign country that is in Syria. I only want the Syrian army, which is like my people, my brothers, my neighbors, my friends, and so on. I want these people to be in control of Syria because it's common sense. Like in America, would you want, for an example, the Brazilian army to be in your country? Like, what the fuck are you doing in my country? Go back to your country.
Absolutely.
But the war has become so complicated. Yeah, but the war has become so complicated, and like more than one army is fighting each other and so on, that it's out of the Syrian people's hands. But like I told you, if I had it my own way, I would kick out every single foreign country out of Syria. This is if I had it my own way. But unfortunately, like I can't do anything right now about it.
Absolutely. Paula says Iraq used to be a secular country too. Also true. Iraq was not a very religious country. It was really a secular country. Absolutely.
Yeah. Like even Syria, like you would be very surprised about Syria before the war started. Before the war started, Syria used to be one of the cheapest countries in the Middle East. And also it used to be one of the safest countries in the Middle East. This was before 2011. It was one of the safest countries in the Middle East. When the war started in Iraq, millions of Iraqis came to Syria for protection because Syria was a safe country. When the war in Lebanon in 2006 happened, also the same thing. Millions of Lebanese people came to Syria because Syria was known to be safe. Same with the Palestinians. It's like Syria has always been Armenians. Syria has been known to be like one of the safest and cheapest countries in the Middle East, and it was secular. It was not bad at all. Like compared to many Middle Eastern countries, it was not bad at all. It was only after NATO countries. Now, just for me to not put all the blame on America, because that wouldn't be fair. Because it wasn't only America that helped in this South Syria. It was America. It was NATO countries like, you know, UK, France, Germany. You had Saudi Arabia and Qatar. They also funded ISIS. You had Turkey. So like every single of these countries, they played a huge role in, you know, making the situation worse in Syria. They started sending weapons, and each country started funding a terrorist group. Like you have a country that would send money to ISIS. Another country would send weapons to Al-Qaeda. Another, you know, so it was like the attacks were coming from every single, you know, direction in Syria. you know.
Yes,
So
absolutely. It's funny. Melissa says that you should follow, that we should follow you, not for you, but for the cat. So sorry, the cat's more popular than you. That's what it is. So Bruce says, thank you for letting us know what our involvement is. And I think that's really an important piece, because I think most people don't think about the small things you just said. They really don't think about that at all. Paula says, it kills me when Christians don't know that there are Christians in Syria. And it's true. My family is part of the Eastern Orthodox Church. So I know exactly what you're talking about. 100%. Yes. So I like that.
Yeah.
So Joe says, I'm just now finding out that Americans don't know the sanctions are hurting the people from other countries the U.S. government puts on them. My parents are immigrants from Iraq. This was common knowledge in our household. Yes, well, Joe, because your parents came from Iraq, so you know that. But the average American doesn't. The average American actually believes that the sanctions are hurting the elites. They don't get that the sanctions are hurting the individual person on the ground. I knew that, but I didn't know how deep it was. The deepness was important to me.
Listen, the elites and the high-ranking politicians, they have money. They don't care. They're probably sitting in their mansions masturbating to our video right now. They don't care. They have money. They have generators so that when the electricity gets cut off, they can just turn on the generators. They always have gas. They always have fuel, like every other country. So, you know, like all the high-ranking politicians, they're always rich. But you're talking about 85% of the Syrian people. They're all suffering because of the economic sanctions. There are some people in hospitals that are currently very sick, and they need specific medicine to cure their illness. And because of the economic sanctions, we're not able to import these medicines to cure these sick people. So, yeah, it's crazy. Like, it's crazy, but you know, it's the truth. And I've been, if you watch my videos on my page, I've been saying this stuff for years and years. And thankfully, I have American followers, like thousands and thousands of America follow me, and they support me, and people are gradually waking up to the BS that is happening in the government.
Yes, and I'm seeing more and more people who are popping on this site saying they're following you now. They're jumping on top. They're following you now here. Jordan just says, thanks, I just followed you guest on Twitter. So they are starting to follow you here or there, which is great. I'm very glad that that's happening. David says, Eastern Orthodoxy is not just for Greeks, Russians, or Arabs anymore. That's true. I mean, Eastern Orthodoxy is much more than just that. I know because, you know, my wife is Greek, so that's how I know. But Justin Amash, our libertarian congressman from last year, he's also, I think is he Syrian or Palestinian? I've forgotten which one, but he's also an Orthodox Christian also. So there are lots that way. David says, using food and medicine as weapons is always wrong. I would agree.
Yeah, I agree too.
So Serban says, get this guy on as many podcasts as possible. Dave Smith, Michael Malice, Tom Woods, even Joe Rogan if possible. What I will tell you is those guys are watching this show, so hopefully they'll reach out to you and you'll get a couple more shows. We can hope for sure. So we'll see what happens.
Everyone is welcome. Everyone is welcome to invite me to their podcast. It will be an honor for me to have a conversation with them and to also like tell them what is happening in Syria, and also like laughing and joking around and also talking about important topics. It will be an honor.
Absolutely. Joe, thank you. Joe Amash I was right. He's half Syrian, half Palestinian. So yes, that our congressman we had last year, libertarian, he's half Syrian, half Palestinian. There we go. That's what it is. I'm glad I'm clearer now on that one. So let me ask you, before we wrap this up, Treka, is there something that you'd like to bring up or talk about or promote or anything before we wrap this up?
Nothing comes to mind. Most importantly, to all the people that are watching, thank you so much for the support and lovely comments. If you guys want to see more of my work and more of my videos, you can follow me. You can see the name. It's the same name on Facebook. Facebook is where I am mostly active. Facebook, then Instagram and YouTube and Twitter. You can watch my videos, and that would be it. that's the only thing I can promote right now.
Excellent. I love it. It's all good. Guys, thank you so much for joining me and watching and paying attention and those questions and those comments. Treka, thank you so much for coming on the show. I sincerely appreciate it. You have enlightened many people. Please don't stop. Keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you so much.